There are some people out there that will tell you with some confidence that reviews of products don't make that big of a difference. I honestly could not disagree more with that sentiment. For the average user, if they are about to purchase a device, in particular, we're talking about a phone here, a device that's going to be probably quite expensive, perhaps over $1,000, you better believe they're going to go on the internet, they're going to find reviews of that device, and they're going to use that to determine if that device is worth their money. They're going to want to know what they're getting into before they get into it. And this process was a bit of a problem for Microsoft's Surface Duo, both 1 and unfortunately for Surface Duo 2 as well. When Duo 1 came out, it was absolutely full of bugs. It had a lot of problems. Now, there was a lot of promise there, and there were those of us who could see the promise, who could see what it could be through the bugs. If you go back to my early reviews, I did not shy away from the bugs. I talked about how big of a problem some of them were. In fact, I couldn't even use the gesture navigation for the first couple of months until some updates came out. Swiping up to go home just did not feel good at all. It was very unreliable and unresponsive. I talked a lot about these sorts of things. I was as honest about these things as I felt like I could be, but I also did talk about why I really liked Surface Duo, what was there that kept bringing me back to it. So that's probably preference, right? I saw the bugs, but I was willing to stick around. A lot of reviewers were not like that. They were perfectly happy with their slab phones. So coming over to Duo, experiencing all the bugs, not having a camera like they were used to having, as soon as they were done with that review, they could not wait to stop using Surface Duo. A long-term review was absolutely out of the question for them. The thing was just too far gone already. It was not what it needed to be from Microsoft. They did not send it out in the state that it needed to be. And first impressions are extremely important, right? They're maybe the most important thing in the world when it comes to tech like this. First impressions, because you're probably not going to get a second one. So then Duo 2 comes out, and yes, it's much, much better off than the original Duo. I'd say after a year of updates on Duo 1, Duo 2 was still launching in a better state than Duo 1 was in. And the reviews kind of reflected that, right? They were a bit better, but a lot of these big reviewers still were not happy with it. We all watched the MKBHD review where he called the camera a 3 out of 10, where he really just did not understand why the device existed. And I'm not saying this in a way of he lacked the mental fortitude to determine why the device existed. It just wasn't for him. This device still had some bugs, had a camera that he didn't enjoy using, and he just didn't understand why he should ever keep his SIM or put his SIM in, for the first time, I would imagine, into that device. But something rather strange has begun to happen over the last few months as Microsoft delivers more and more substantial, impactful updates for not just Duo 1, which is in a pretty darn good place right now, but for Duo 2, improving the experience radically, okay? And I'm not exaggerating here. This thing is in such a good place right now. As these updates roll out, some of these reviewers, not just me, right? Not just little 10,000 subscriber YouTube guy, right? Not just me. Big YouTubers and even big publications are grabbing Surface Duo 2. They're looking at it and they're going, well, maybe I should look at this again. And when they do so, they're saying to themselves, hey, this is actually pretty good now. You probably remember when Captain Two Phones himself, Mr. Mobile, Michael Fisher, he did a re-review, sort of a long-term re-review of Surface Duo 2 after a couple of updates had gone by, and he was much more positive on it. Now, he still indicated that it needed some more improvement. Typing was still not where he wanted it to be, but he seemed to understand that it was in the right direction. The progress was being made, and then perhaps if it was continued, the thing would actually become a pretty good device. He also said if they could get the price under $1,000, that would really help a ton. Well, that has also happened. Yesterday, though, actually, it's not going to be yesterday anymore. It's going to be 2 days ago by the time you're seeing this. The Verge tweeted something that caught my eye. Microsoft's weird Surface Duo 2 has surprisingly become my favorite device of the year. Now, this is a publication that when Duo 2 was first released, They did a review. The same person did their review of Duo 2, and it was not a positive review, okay? They did not love Surface Duo 2. Now, it's their favorite device of the year. Let's look at the article. And we're not going to read the whole thing, right? It's a relatively long article. Link in the description. Go read it yourself, and I think you'll be somewhat glad that you did, at least. But let's read this opening paragraph here. It is exceedingly rare that a product actually gets better months after it was released. But Microsoft's oft-forgotten Surface Duo 2, which launched back in October 2021 with a steep price tag and a laundry list of bugs and issues that made it very frustrating to use, has bucked that trend. In fact, the Duo 2 has improved so much that it is now one of my favorite mobile devices, even if it's still weird and unique enough that I can't exactly recommend it to most people. I'm totally okay with that synopsis, okay? I also don't think Surface Duo 2 is meant for most people, okay? It is not a device for most people. It is a device for very specific people, and for those people, it's pretty damn good. He talks about how he finds it remarkable how well Microsoft has done pushing out substantial updates to Duo 2. Some of them are security patches, but some of them are substantial, bringing new features and bug fixes. He says, crucially, Microsoft has addressed the touch latency problem that made typing a bit of a chore there in the beginning. He talks about how the price cut has made it significantly less expensive than when it launched, and then he says he finally gets it. The Duo 2 is the most unique mobile device he's ever used, allowing him to do things he just can't do with a traditional smartphone. We're there, guys. We are finally in a place with Duo 2 where people that initially looked at it and maybe thought, I don't know, now it's in such a good place. The people that didn't like it before are using it and going, I get it now. I understand. I finally understand the point of this device. The things that I have been banging on about for like 2 years now, Microsoft has finally delivered a software experience that people can hear my message, can hear what I'm saying. Hey, trust me, it's pretty good. And now they can agree with me. And to dig a little bit deeper into how this individual is using his Surface Duo, he talks about Duo 2 is not his primary phone. A lot of tech reviewers carry two phones. A lot of times it's an iPhone and it's an Android. This seems to be a similar instance here, where his iPhone is what he uses for messaging, which if you're an iPhone user, iMessage, your Duo is going to be finding it hard to replace that sort of functionality. Calls, photos, smart home control, music, and mobile payments, like I said on the iPhone, and then reading, multitasking, note-taking, YouTube on Duo 2. He says he's never taken a call on Duo 2 because he finds it extremely awkward. And I understand that, right? You're here and you're taking a phone call like this. I almost exclusively take phone calls on my Duo in one of two different setups. Actually, I literally exclusively only take phone calls. I've never taken a phone call with my Duo up against my face. This is for a couple of reasons though. That's gross to me because when you pull it away, you've got just like face oil and stuff on your screen. I just hate doing that. So I typically don't get phone calls. If you call me, I'm likely to not answer and then to just simply text you, what do you need? I hate talking on the phone, but if I have to, I'm going to do speakerphone because I'm probably here at the house. And if I'm out from the house somewhere, I've probably got a set of earbuds in my pocket. I'll quickly pop in an earbud and then answer the phone call and talk that way. But I understand what this person is saying. Phone calls on Duo, if you take a lot of phone calls, probably going to be a little awkward. He also does talk about how while the camera app is much improved, he doesn't take photos on Surface Duo 2 because he finds it a bit awkward as well. If you want to, pull out your phone, double-click the power button to open up the camera and snap a picture, that's probably going to be easier on a normal phone. Do I think that Duo 2's camera photography experience, I guess I could say, is pretty decent and is passable for me? Absolutely. Is it as quick as taking a picture on his iPhone? No, probably not. So I totally understand both of those complaints. But overall, just the fact that this individual, who again did not like Duo to begin with, thought it was way too buggy to be used, is now using it as their secondary device, that's a really good sign that Mr. Mobile has talked about it numerous times. And he's made some social media posts after that 6-month review talking about how much better it's gotten. Of course, the guys over at Windows Central have echoed this sentiment, that it's gotten a ton better Daniel Rubino, and Zach Bowden as well. Zach has his own 6-month review where he talks about some of the same things I've talked about, that it's really, really improved. I also checked out to see who had quoted the tweet about this, and Ben, who is the senior editor at XDA Developer, agrees with the sentiment. Duo 1 and Duo 2 have always had awesome hardware and potential, but the software was utter trash at launch. 6 months of updates, Duo 2 software is okay enough that I carry it often as a second device to read and do things. The tide may be ever so slightly turning, and that's kind of the general synopsis that I wanted to bring to you in this video. Public opinion may finally be beginning to swing with Surface Duo as more and more people with check marks next to their name, people that aren't editors at Windows Central because people are going to write them off as being biased, but people like Ben, people like Dan from The Verge, people like Michael Fisher, Mr. Mobile, as more and more of these people actually take the time to do the crazy thing that people like me never do, and that is to check in on a device after it's been out for a minute. As more and more of them do check in on Duo and go, wow, it's a lot better, I should tell people about this, public opinion seems to be beginning to slowly swing. Now, it has to continue. It has to continue to improve, and it also has to continue to pick up new features to get better, to excite people. Because it's one thing to say, hey, that device I told you was trash, it's pretty good now. It's another thing to say, that device I told you it was trash is actually pretty good, and they've added a bunch of new features, and you should be excited about this device. That's a very different type of scenario. And that's kind of what we need. We need excitement to be reinvigorated so that in another year or so, when Duo 3 launches, it can really come out swinging and people can actually be excited about it, because Duo 3 is the one that kind of needs to sell pretty well for this thing to continue being alive. So there you go, guys. Reason for, I think, some actual optimism with Surface Duo. We are becoming less and less like the evangelizers. The evangelists? That's the right word. I made up a word just there. I apologize. We're becoming less and less like the evangelists that no one wants to listen to, and more like the people that just have an opinion that other people in the public share now. So that's pretty cool. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe on your way out. I'll see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.